I love BL for many reasons. They serve as escapism, representation. I see pretty people kiss and do other things. And I witness happy endings, you know? And bonus, if I'm lucky, I'd be able to absorb like complex stories about love, grief, loss, and everything in between. In a way, it feels like you're immersed in this beautifully intricate, complex, put together world, which you are. That feels like I feel good here, for the most part. On this channel, I've talked about BLs that with complex stories, BLs that broke my heart, that I will never recover from, and BLs that probably didn't need to exist or needed to be fermented a little bit longer, maybe a little deeper. But I think one of the things I've neglected to mention, at least explicitly, is BL design and fashion and how that impacts a BL. I think there's a certain look to BLs that feel like really formulaic, sterilized, overtly manufactured, overtly produced sometimes, and especially if you're watching shows from the same production company where the team is pretty consistently the same, and there's a tendency to repeat and not get so creative with the costume, set design, hairstyles, overall aesthetics, which are pretty important to character distinction and character depth. Design and fashion, sometimes we don't think about it in shows that are really, really well done, but it shows us the distinction of class, the priorities of characters, the general outlook of a character and what they care about. And at worst, they can dissociate us from the story itself and the characters and create like a barrier between us audiences misunderstanding the characterization and the world building that the creators is hoping to share with us. Without further ado, here are my 5 favorite BLs that kind of ate with fashion and design. This is not really speaking to the story themselves. The majority of them are my favorite, but really I'm talking about set and design and fashion. Before I do that though, I want to give a quick shout out to Ana Luisa for noticing my little channel about very gay things and my very niche hobby of thinking out loud on the internet. If you've been watching me for a while, you probably know I love jewelry. Yeah. I wear them a lot on this channel. They're my favorite things, and they're my favorite way of adding some fun and effortless addition. They also represent like a big part of my style in general. I have been standing Ana Luisa for a little over 4 years, probably a little before 2020, you know, before the I have found their pieces to be so beautiful, and one of my friends actually owned one of their famous rings. I don't remember the name of it, but I love jewelry and I've always been very skeptical and very cautious about where I buy my jewelry. A couple of years ago, actually, I had like a bad breakout from a jewelry that I got from a relative that since then I swore off what type of jewelry like I go after. When Ana Luisa's team sent me these 2 beautiful pieces, one of them is these beautiful earrings. I was actually making like an end of the year video about beauty and class and BLs. That's gonna be a much longer video essay, and I decided to portion that video into this. I'm gonna stop talking, I'm gonna show you the pieces, okay? Like they come in these like matchbox looking things, okay? Okay. These are I think these are the Kayla gold drop earrings. I'll also just put a picture because the exposure is a little bit much. Come in this like I said, in this beautiful, and it says like made in New York or designed in New York, and it has the Ana Luisa I just dropped it. Okay, it's fine. I didn't open this because I wanted to show you how they come. Like this one, I just couldn't wait. So beautifully wrapped. It's also paper, so 100% recyclable, which is like a small pet peeve of mine whenever brands use plastic. It's not that hard, but it's not even a question here, so I adore that. I also have very sensitive skin, like I said. Contrary to belief, like I have a lot of tattoos, but even I have to be very specific where I get my tattoos at because I break out very easily. These are the Dakota Marble Blue earrings. I fell in love with these. They kind of remind me of like those like very old marble vase, whatever. They kind of remind me of that, and when you wear them, they don't feel heavy, but you can tell like it's quality. I've been wearing them since I got them. I'm actually going to see Raven Lene this week, and you know I'm about to wear. I love them. I think I'm gonna find to buy a couple of rings from them because I've been wearing the same rings for years. If any of this sounds interesting to y'all, you're like fashion people, doesn't have to be gendered at all. I have a whole dissertation about how jewelry is so gendered, and it's not, and it shouldn't be. Their pieces are hypoallergenic. They're also water resistant. I'm super lazy, so I won't be taking anything off. If any of this sounds interesting to y'all, use my unique link in the description below. Oh my gosh, I feel so cool to say that. So that's it. If you feel like it, unique link in the description below, and get you something. If you have a friend that likes jewelry, fashion girly is a gender neutral term, by the way. Y'all remember Jacko Frost? I made I think a couple of videos praising it, but Jacko Frost is a Japanese BL that came in 2023 and kind of completely broke my heart in all the good ways. These shows generally get incredible styling, and I feel like this is just one of them. It's good, it's fun, it's sweet, it's heartbreaking, but I feel like we don't talk enough about the style and the design choices on the show. The show is really Ritsu rediscovering his world and his life and his relationship with Fumiya after experiencing memory loss. It is at its most rawest form of domestic fluff story that contrasts Ritsu's cozy, optimistic outlook of the world, where he's just this artist making art reminiscent of Japanese styling, while Fumiya's style, which is much more muted and neutral and realistic and corporate, as their outlook about the world is consistent with the way they show up. Ritsu has a fluffy coat with bright orange knitted hat, while often we see Fumiya has a black charcoal coat with a standard styling of his hair like a salaryman in Japan. Ritsu's memory coming back, we see him with brighter orange auburn jacket and fluffy colorful winter scarf. They have chosen Ritsu's presentation according to his personality that seems to shift over the course of the show. And as his memory gets clearer, we see him getting brighter and the lighting of the show getting brighter and cozier and warmer in tone. And the very obvious juxtaposition between the two couples who are very different from each other, it's signaling to us as audiences the different way they perceive the world and how they see themselves like existing in this world. Only Friends as a show is trying to tell stories about queer people and their friend dynamics, and it could have been better. That's the most diplomatic way I can put it. I actually went back and watched it recently, and I kind of unlisted the video I made a year ago with pretty harsh criticisms. I'm brave enough to say when I'm wrong, and I wasn't wrong, but it felt a little too harsh. I still am with myself when I say there were too many cooks in the kitchen for that show. But when it comes to fashion choices, design, and overall style priorities, they kind of ate. Let's take Sand and Ray as an example. We see Sand and Ray, both characters that have different lifestyles, resources, priorities, and we see Sand's overwashed, overstretched, overused gray shirt in contrast with Ray's ultra designer butter smooth button-down shirt, or Ray's simple accessories that seem expensive compared to Sand's functional items on his person. It tells us a lot about what the characters value, but also how they would like to be perceived by the world. Only Friends is one of those shows, in my opinion, where they have used fashion as a way to make distinct and obvious choices about what the characters hold to be true about themselves, but also what the characters spend time on. The character's style and the world feels very distinct. Even though the show could have been better, I think they did a really good job of distinguishing, this character has money, this character doesn't have a ton of money, this character likes music. It's very obvious. Only Friends is one of those shows, in my opinion, where they have used fashion as a way, again, to make distinct and obvious choices about what the characters hold to be true about themselves, but also what the characters spend time on. Sand, a musician, is much more interested in vintage ratty tees because he's deeply into music, while Ray is still holding true that he values music because of the memories that he is associated with his mother. And as the audiences, we're not really left guessing who's this character. I think there's times in BL where it feels consistently over formulaic, or almost like a copy paste, a character is a copy paste. I think there's a tendency for shows to bleed into one another in terms of stylization and the way that the set is designed. You're I feel like these could all live in the same world. The world building is made possible by how characters dress, how distinct characters are from other shows. And I feel like Only Friends, you can tell it's a show that is specific to this world. So they do a good job of Only Friends. Like YOLO, the bar feels like a bar that could potentially exist in real life. Like it's really grounded in reality, like, and it does feel true in that way. I think we can make criticism about like how complex the characters stylization could have been, but I think for what it is, it defines who they are. It gives them a name tag. Like, this is the rich character, this is the character that is like different, like he's not like other boys. This character really likes music and they are dressed in a leather jacket. This character is bougie and they drive very expensive cars. This character is really into photography and they collect cameras. Although Only Friends doesn't try to disrupt again anything about the characters in a larger way, at least it's consistent throughout the show. Sorry, I can't stop thinking about how good this show could have been, the potential it could have had. Anyway. So this is still going, but I'm still going to talk about it. Let me just first say, Yen and War are my bias, and it's about time they got something outside of a school story because they're killing it. One of the things that is pretty beautifully done, Jack and Joker, is the styling choices between Joker's time in jail and after. The transition actually feels well done. Like, you can feel like time has passed. It's been 5 years. And you can see Jack's changes from the way his hair is done to the suits that are more professionally organized, crime coded, as Joker's clear gap of time is where he was in prison for 5 years. Joker is much more experimental, as he doesn't really have a reference of the time and fashion choices that are acceptable. They do a lot of undercover work. That way their fits also feel even more expressive and experimental. It fits the characters' desires, priorities, I guess. They even gender bend in Joker's case, saying something about the character himself, and that does say something about the character. In this case, Joker is a character who feels comfortable enough to gender bend, like it doesn't really matter. They are able to think through the way each of them and the people in the environment are dressed. Like Mark's character, Aran, for instance, is someone who's able to put a multi-million-dollar diamond necklace, and he acts that way throughout. Although Jack's character is poor and he's still able to perform organized crime aesthetics, the fashion that he has adapted now that like time has passed, it is not only aesthetic, but it's for fear, intimidation, and respect. While he's at home, you see him in his casual clothing. In this world, fashion is functional, and it could also be a stylization choice that says something about the character's experimentation and code switch between like what is acceptable in the organized crime space and if they need to go undercover or if they're just like chilling at home, which you see them in a completely different pieces of like outfits. That's just like really well done, and we're only like 5 episodes deep into this show and I'm still like, I love this show so much. Let me show you something. Do you see this? Do you see this? It's a big ass poster of I Told You Sunset About You. I love the show so much. I love its intentionality. I'm not gonna talk about it more than I have to or I need to. The reason is that they make their characters embody feelings, thoughts, insecurities in a way they show up in the world, and that includes the fashion and the design of the show. Let me explain. When OA changed his major in I Promised You the Moon and made new friends, he changed. He dyed his hair, his fashion drastically shifted, whereas Tae stayed bitter, insecure, and really uncertain about who he was. OA, in a way, was like reborn, and Tae is left seeking. That threatened Tae, especially when it came to OA's changes that he was witnessing. Tae starts to dress like his senior Jay, who he has confused as someone he has feelings for, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Do not come for me. I know there's a lot of Tae hate on the internet, and like I'm one of them. But I think he was genuinely trying to understand who he was. I think he was confused about who he was, and he confused that for liking someone because, you know, like like you be doing that when you're young, and I think at any age really. Tae starts to dress like his senior Jae, who he has confused as someone he feelings for, when in reality was just like looking for an identity to put on again. That is portrayed throughout Tae's confusingly knocking around wearing what they wore when they were in high school, when they were on the beach. Tae is someone who's continually looking for external validation, and that extended in the way that he acted, in the way that he was dressed, in the way that he criticized and came hard at OA. He criticized how OA showed up, especially as he grew more. He saw it as like something like he was growing apart from him, when in reality he was just growing. Like, if that is not brilliant, like I don't know what is. There's something identical, generally oversaturated in Korean drama specifically, and generally I don't necessarily care, because like Korea also really came aggressively more into being in the BL space in the last honestly 2 years. And Korean dramas like KBL specifically, they look good. It's nothing to give a second look at. If the story's good, it's good. Semantic Error, although, is not my favorite show, sorry people, enjoyed it a lot because how expressive the fashion is and how the characters were showing up in the world. The color coordination, the beautiful set design, the coloring, the way the world building seems so specific to this show. Even though there were probably 400 shows were filmed in the same street, the way it was able to make itself so distinct, the coloring of the scenes using what the characters are feeling, like the moody colors, the big trench coats that were worn felt no longer ordinary. They felt coded to the character, who was careless and brilliant, really not careless. Chu Sang-woo's blue denim button-up, his cap were so specific to his character and how approachable he was, or how blocking out the world he generally was. The oversaturated colors of matching clothing were layers added to the dramatization of this character, who's pretty flamboyant in the way that he shows up. Ordinary sweatshirts and solid black hoop earrings turn into a very specific characterization that is so specific to Semantic Error's world. So that's all. Are there any BLs that the fashion and the design has made an impression on you that you still think about it here in 2024? Let's talk about it in the comments. Again, thank you for watching, and thank you again for Ana Luisa for noticing my little channel and for partnering with me. Again, check my link in the description below to get 25% off on your next purchase of Ana Luisa. See you soon.